Welcome, one and all, to another edition of Ask a Ghost Hunter with me, your host, author, and ghost hunter, Rick Hale. So, before we get started with today's show, which is actually going to be something a little bit different, um, I just want to say I hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas and Hanukkah, as well as for those who celebrate. I hope you're having a fantastic Kwanzaa at the moment. I hope that you got everything that you wanted and that you deserved. So, happy holidays, everybody, and thanks again for joining me. So, before we get started with the question of the week, which is going to be a lot more different than what you're used to hearing from a ghost hunter, I just want to talk a little bit about my books. That's right. This is a spot that I like to call shameless self promotion. So, first off, if you are looking for books by me, I am a 4-time published author. I have 3 of them here today. The fourth one, to be honest with you, I couldn't find among my vast library. So, the first one is The Geek's Guide to the Strange and Unusual, Poltergeist, Ghosts, and Demons. Second book, Behold, Shocking True Tales of Terror, ... and some other spooky stuff. Third book, Bullets, Booze, and Babes, The Haunted History of Chicago and Illinois. And the fourth book, of course, is Ghost Watch, which was recently released just a few years ago. And like I said, I cannot find that book right now at the moment. I think my son might actually have it in his room. Believe it or not, my son Theo doesn't really have a whole lot of interest in the paranormal, but he does like to read and does read his old man's books. So, this week's question on Ask a Ghost Hunter really has nothing to do whatsoever with ghosts. It has something to do more with aliens. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it or not, I actually am a huge believer that we are either being visited or have been visited, or there is an alien presence here on our world currently. So, which brings us to the question that I sometimes get asked by people who find out that not only do I have an interest in ghosts and cryptids, which we will get to in fun future shows, but the question that I get concerning aliens, Rick, is there a cover up, not only by the United States government, but by the governments of the world, to cover up the existence of aliens? Is there a cover up that says that we have not been visited, or we are not being visited, or currently that there is not a presence of aliens on our world? And if there is in fact a cover up, why? Why keep this kind of information from the entire world? Well, there's actually some really good reasons concerning that, and they actually do make a lot of sense. But before I get to those, I just want to say that I am by no means a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe that there are dark, shadowy forces out there to take over the world and make us their slaves, or even some people believe that there are reptilians that want to make us their food. I don't believe that. I do believe that there are conspiracies, though, mostly in the world of criminal activity. Obviously, there are conspiracies for that. But I do believe that there is a concerted effort to conceal the existence of extraterrestrials from the general public, not just here in the United States, but also in the world over. But if there is a conspiracy of silence, I guess you could say, why do they do it? And when did it begin? Well, let's start with a recent news article that really captured my attention and really captured my imagination. And this happened just back in October. That's right before Halloween of 2025. A pilot was flying over Rhode Island, just kind of minding his own business, flying along, when all of a sudden he looked out his window and he could see a small cylindrical craft keeping pace just beyond one of his wings. This pilot had never seen anything like that before, and he had been flying for many, many years. So, because he was completely mystified by what it is that he saw, he actually radioed into Rhode Island T.F. Green International Airport. and asked them if there was anything in the air at the time, if they had anything that was on their radar, if anything showed up, and for that matter, if anybody could see anything with his eyes. And he was several thousand feet above Rhode Island at the time. And no to all those questions. So all he could say was, well, good luck with those aliens. And that's pretty funny. It's you never really think to yourself, it's like, wow, maybe we do need to be wished good luck, because if these beings do exist and they are visiting our world, what are their intentions? So as far as the cover-up is concerned, this cover-up actually goes back many, many decades to just after World War II in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. There was a crash just outside on a farm, or rather on a ranch in the desert. And at first, the papers and the government said that, well, we have a downed flying saucer. Actually used that term, flying saucer. A couple days later, after a shitload of media attention, they decided to switch gears and said, "Oh, no, it's cool. We don't have a downed flying saucer, not of this world. What we have," that's right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it began. We have a downed weather balloon that was being operated by the Army Air Force at the Alamogordo Army Airfield. And pretty much right after that, that's when this massive cover-up took off and began. And now people, honestly, they don't know what to believe. But fairly recently, there have been a number of famous sightings, especially over the last 20 years, that has actually forced the United States government to come out and say, well, there is something weird flying around in our skies, but we don't know what it is. Well, it's kind of their job to know what these things are. And one of those was the famous Tic Tac video that was filmed over the Pacific Ocean in 2004. Navy pilots operating out of from the USS Nimitz were flying along, and they witnessed a 40-foot-long white object flying just over the Pacific Ocean. It made no noise. It had no visible means of propulsion and was actually flying at speeds that they just could not comprehend. These were state-of-the-art jet fighters that could fly several Machs, and this thing, whatever it was flying much faster and actually led them on somewhat of a chase. So we do have a lot of these videos and reports now that have a lot of people wondering, well, if the United States government says that these things exist, they're flying around in our sky, but we don't know what they are. Why are they covering this up? Why are they keeping us in the dark concerning the existence of what could quite possibly be otherworldly craft, and keeping from us what their intentions could be? So I think that there are some reasons that they have come up with, and they're actually really good reasons when you think about it. So let's start with reason number one. If the government, the United States government, or the governments of the world suddenly came out and said, yes, we are being visited by otherworldly beings flying otherworldly craft, we don't really know what their intentions are, but they are not of us, meaning of our world, they are afraid that something like this would cause a massive panic. And you know what? It's something that I completely agree with. It would cause a panic. I mean, let's look at it this way, folks. Let's face it. We can't even get along with our own kind. You have many people, they can't live next to people of a different color or religion. They can't handle the idea of the presence of people who are trans or people who are just in the LGBTQ community. They have a hard time dealing with just that. Now, could you imagine that our government came out and said, hey, you know what? There are creatures, not creatures, excuse me, there are beings that followed a completely different evolutionary path than us, and they are visiting us, and they actually have a presence here on our world currently. I can't even imagine the kind of discrimination and bigotry that would cause. There would be, violence. Nobody would know who that they could trust. Can they trust their neighbors? Are their neighbors these alien beings? We don't know. So yeah, I think that is definitely the foremost reason why the United States government and the governments of the world will not fess up to us and then cover this up, because, like I said, we can't even get along with our own kind. Reason number 2, people would lose trust in their government. I mean, not that there's really a whole lot of trust with people in the governments of the world currently, especially here in the United States. But imagine that this cover-up has been going on for decades now, approximately almost, 80 years as of 2027, that there has been a known cover-up to cover up these beings and their presence and their visiting here in this world. People would automatically lose trust in their government. You still have people that are like, our government knows best and they have our best intentions. But for the government to say, these things exist and they're visiting us and they're here, that would make people lose instant trust. And that could cause rebellions, that could cause military type coups, that could cause major civil unrest. And these are things that the government, and not only our government, but the government of the world, they don't want either. So, number 3, religion is a thing in our world. And we have 3 big religions. We have Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. All 3 of those religions, they, in their holy books, state that we are it. We were created by a God, by a loving creator to do his or, its will, I guess you could say. And redemption only comes from this God. And we have divine revelation from this God. And and all of these religions don't believe in evolution. They believe that God created people and that we are it. We are alone in the universe. We are God's favored beings. So if all of a sudden, if the government of the United States or the governments of the world came out and said, you know what, there are beings that follow a different path of evolution and human beings are actually evolved rather than created, again, that would go back to the other 2. There would be massive panic in the streets. People would rebel against not only the government, but against their religion. There would be acts of terrorism. And just all of this would be unimaginable. So, what do I think concerning that? I've already said I honestly do not believe that we are ready. Do I believe that we are being visited by beings from other worlds, or that we have been visited, or maybe even that there is their presence here on our world? Yeah, I believe in all 3 of those. I will be completely honest with you. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. I do not believe that we are alone in this universe. The universe is far too vast, and we can't even imagine how vast it is, with millions and billions of stars and planets out there that are capable of sustaining life. Even people who do believe in alien beings on different worlds, even they have their doubts about whether or not we're being visited, because Our current level of technology says that, according to physics, we cannot bridge the gap between a world 10 light years away and our world without breaking the laws of physics. But hey, it's possible that these beings have found a way to break those laws of physics and have found a way to get here. But do I think that we're ready? No, not even close. We have to learn to get along with our own kind, with humans. We have to learn to look past our differences, to look past those things that we find objectionable and see the fact that we all breathe air and the fact that we all bleed red. We need to be able to see that before we can even entertain the idea that we are ready to join a vast network of inhabited worlds by beings that are far more advanced than we are. So what are the intentions of these beings then? Well, I think it's pretty simple, actually. I just think that for right now, they're curious about us. They want to scientifically explore our world, and they want to scientifically explore our flora and our fauna, and the fauna, of course, being us as well, which would explain why so many people have claimed to have been abducted by aliens. They prefer to be called experiencers. I myself had met one of these experiencers back in the early 90s, or rather mid 90s, and but as far as the cover up, yeah, I do believe there's a cover up. Are we ready for full disclosure? Not a chance, guys. And I'm sorry to say that, but that is my thoughts. So I just kind of want to wrap it right there, and I want to say thank you so much again for everyone who watches the show, who watches me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you. And there are going to be more adventures with my good friend Ray Porton and I on hitting the road, on the road with Rick and Ray. Hopefully we got some good stuff coming up. And again, hope everybody had a great Christmas, and I hope everyone has a happy New Year and that all your dreams come true. And as always, my friends, stay spooky.